Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's me, SB. I am so glad that you are back. So today I have an experimental video again with the Sentro and knitting machine, 48 pins. Today we are going to be working in panel mode. So go ahead and get your machine ready by flipping it up. Make sure it's past this last peg. Flipping it up to the panel mode. So I marked here the 3 pegs that it does not knit, because when we're knitting in panel mode, it goes beyond right here, sucks the yarn in, and then we have to work our way back. But here is the sample that I knitted up, and this is worked across 22 pegs. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I will tell you what yarn I am using and all that good stuff. Okay, so the yarn that I'm going to be using today is this Wool Like by Loops and Threads. They actually do not make this color anymore, this color purple. You might be able to find it like on eBay or Ravelry or something, somebody that has it in their stash, but I've had it for a long time. But it's going to be the same thing. The color that I'm using is actually the ivory color that I've already put into a yarn cake. And I am going to be holding 2 strands of this together to make it thicker. Because this is a super fine weight yarn, and I want it to be a little thicker. Of course, to make it even thicker, I would suggest holding 3 strands of this yarn together. And we are going to be working in panel mode, so make sure that you flip the little switch up. And we are going to start our cast on. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the cast on. As you can see, I marked my stitches at the beginning, but we are going to be working on 22 pins. And what I use to keep count is a stitch counter on my phone, which is called Minimalist Crochet Counter, but you know, it's a counter app. So I'm actually going to skip those 3 stitches and start on the second one. And make sure that if you're working with 2 strands of yarn that you are, holding it correctly and your hook is actually gripping it. So I actually worked to the 24th peg, and I'm just going to mark beyond that right there. And I'm going to put my tension on my yarn there, as you see. And I'm going to start working back, making sure it wraps around that last peg. And yeah, whenever I'm working double-stranded, it tends not to stay in that very first tension guide, so I just kind of let it do its thing. So once you get to the end, be sure to hold your tail, pull on your working yarn, and just keep an eye on your yarn, making sure it's going all the way down, especially at the ends. So at the end, you want to make sure that your yarn is wrapping around that little hook and dropping into that first peg. So as always, you want to work smoothly and slowly, keeping an eye on your yarn always. And yeah, just making sure that that last peg is getting wrapped and you are not dropping any stitches. I would say that it's pretty easy if you mark your last peg and you start at the first peg at the beginning, then you would have no worries. And as you can see, this yarn is actually working up really nice. I love the way it comes out. like I said at the beginning, this yarn is loops and thread wool-like, but it is a very thin yarn. But for the price, it is a very good value. I think you get a lot of yarn out of it, so I think it's worth it. So when you're working, be sure not to go too far beyond that last peg. I did it several times doing this, but I caught it with enough time, because then you're going to actually be adding more stitches at the end. Just try to keep count, and yeah, that's really all I have to say. It's pretty easy. If you want to keep your ends fairly neat, all you have to do is, once you get to the end, hold on to your working yarn, wait until it goes past that hook, and then kind of tug on it just a little bit, and it'll tighten up those end stitches and make it look very, very neat. So I'm just going to continue on making my swatch, and I go to about 75 rows. Okay, so I knit my rows up to row 75, and as you can see, here is my flat panel, and it's looking pretty good. And all I'm going to do to cast off is I'm going to remove my yarn here, and we are going to start working back. So we are going to have to be very careful not to pull any of our stitches off. All right, so now we are at the beginning here, and now we can start pulling off all of our stitches by using either a knitting needle or our waste yarn here, or our yarn at the end, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just cut this. And we're going to have to start over here on this side, just because the way I cast on. And we're going to have to be very, very careful not to drop any of our stitches. So yeah, we're going to have to start over here, just because of the way I ended my yarn, or my row. And I'm just going to go through and I'm going to pop all of these off, working from behind, making sure that I grab all of my, both of my strands. So originally this video was going to be making a baby hat on here, but I did not anticipate how small this panel was going to be. So now this is just a kind of like an experimental video now, just to show you what it looks like working in panel mode in only 22 pegs. Alright, so we are nice and casted off. I'm just going to pass this all the way through. And that's why I have my other end marked here. So let's take a look at this panel. I used, as you remember, I used 2 strands of super fine yarn held together, and this is what we got. Now if we stretch this out, now this is the only I keep wanting to say panel. This is the only problem working with in a flat panel, is that it curls so bad. So as you can see, if we do not stretch it out, we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches across here, but it has a really good stretch with that. And I knit 75 rows. And it is, let's see, it is about 13.5 inches long. So yeah, that is how you knit a flat panel using only 22 pegs on a 48 pin machine. And it comes out pretty good. Like I said, I was gonna make this into a baby hat, but it is way too small at this point. This would be good maybe for worsted weight yarn, which I might try to find some that works, and we will play around with that, making baby hats on here. But yeah, that's how you knit a 22 pin flat panel on the Sentro 48 pin. So I hope this tutorial was helpful, and let me know what projects you are gonna try using this method of flat panels in the Sentro. Anywho, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Stay crafty. Bye.